Honorable members, shall we pray? Almighty God, we humbly beseech thee to look with favor upon this Parliament of the Republic of Ghana. Grant that it may perform its high duty as in thy sight. Give divine guidance to the President of the Republic. Endow members of Parliament and ministers of state with discernment and vision, integrity and courage, that through the labors of government, this land and people may be well and truly served, and our good purposes for the common human life be realized in our midst. O God, grant us a vision of our country, fair as it might be, a country of righteousness, where none shall wrong his neighbor, a country of plenty, where evil and poverty shall be done away with, a country of brotherhood, where all success shall be founded on service and honor shall be given to the deserving, a country of peace, where government shall rest on the will of the people and the love for the common good. Bless the efforts of those who struggle to make this vision a living reality. Inspire and strengthen our people, that they may give time, thought, and sacrifice to speed the day of the coming veto of Ghana and Africa. Amen. Honorable members, I have a number of messages from the President, and I'll proceed to read all to you. Before we proceed to item 3. The first is a message 17th December 2027. It reads, Mr. Absence from Ghana. In accordance with Article 59 of the Constitution, I write to inform you that traveling outside the country on Sunday, 17th December 2023, at the invitation of the President of the Republic of Rwanda, His Excellency Paul Kagame, participated in the launch of the Pan-African BioNTech Africa Vaccine Manufacturing Facility involving Ghana, Senegal, and Rwanda, scheduled to be held on Monday, 18th December 2023. I will return to Ghana in the evening of the same day. During my absence, the Vice President, Alhaji Dr. Mahmoudou Bawumia, shall, in accordance with Article 68 of the Constitution, act in my stead. Yours sincerely, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. The second message is dated 15th December 2023. It reads, Mr. Speaker, representation of the 2024 annual financial estimates of Parliament to the President of the Republic of Ghana. I acknowledge receipt of your letter dated 20th November 2023, with reference number OP/SPKR/01/53 on the above subject matter and submit the annual financial estimates of Parliament and the Parliamentary Service to be laid before Parliament, as well as the recommendation of government on them. In accordance with Section 15A of the Parliamentary Service Act 1993, Act 460 as amended, I submit herewith the estimates of expenditure for Parliament and the Parliamentary Service. Recommendations of government on estimates of Parliament and Parliamentary Service. As requested by Parliament, government can meet 92% of the request, totaling 22,482,803 Ghana cedis. This is made up of administrative and operational expenses to the tune of 888,482,803 Ghana cedis, and capital expenses of 134 million Ghana cedis for the 2024 fiscal year. Government therefore makes the following recommendations on the estimates submitted by Parliament. That is a table, very detailed, and I plead that the Hansard Office will capture that. I will not be able to read through all that details for you. I will, however, as at the end, refer it to the committee to handle. Accordingly, Parliament is respectfully requested to keep the estimates of Parliament and the Parliamentary Service within the expenditure ceilings recommended by government to enable government contain expenditures within the overall fiscal space for 2024. I would be grateful if you could cause these annual estimates and recommendations by government to be laid before Parliament. I count on your usual cooperation. Yours sincerely, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. So, honorable members, I will proceed to refer these estimates on Parliament and the Parliamentary Service to the Special Budget Committee for consideration and report. I believe the report will be to the main Finance Committee so that they can be incorporated into the appropriation bill for the consideration of the House. The third communication is dated 15 December 2023, and it reads, Mr. Speaker, annual estimates of the audit service for the year 2024. In accordance with Section 27(1) of the Audit Service Act 2000, Act 584, the Act, and Regulation 45 of the Audit Service Regulations 2011, CI 70, the Audit Service, by letter dated 11th October 2023, under the hand of his board chairperson, Professor Edward Dua Ajiman, submitted to me the annual estimates of the Audit Service for the year 2024. Under Section 27(2) of the Act, I am required to lay before Parliament the annual estimates of the Audit Service with any recommendation that I may make on them. Accordingly, I submit herewith the annual estimates of the Audit Service for the year 2024. Recommendations of government on estimates of the Audit Service. As requested by the Audit Service, government can meet all the administrative and operational expenses, that is compensation of employees and goods and services, to to the tune of 603,687,530 Ghana cedis, and a capital expenses component of 23,069,141 Ghana cedis in the 2024 budget. Government, therefore, makes the following recommendations on the estimates submitted by the Audit Service in Ghana cedis. There is a detailed table. I will call on the official reports to capture the details, and I proceed to read the rest of the message. Accordingly, Parliament is respectfully requested to keep the estimates of the Audit Service within the expenditure ceilings recommended by government to enable government contain expenditures within the overall fiscal space for 2024. I would be grateful if you could cause these annual estimates of the Audit Service to be laid before Parliament. I count on your usual cooperation. Yours sincerely, Nana Adodankwa Akufo-Addo. Honorable members, this message is also referred to the Budget Committee for consideration and report to the House. The fourth message is dated 15th December 2023, and it reads, Mr. Speaker, 2024 budget estimates of the judiciary and the judicial service. In accordance with Article 1793 of the Constitution, the Chief Justice, Mrs. Justice Gertrude Saki Tokunu, by letter dated 27th October 2023, submitted to me the 2024 budget estimates of the judiciary and the judicial service. Under Article 1794 and 5, I am required to lay before Parliament the budget estimates of the judiciary and the judicial service with any recommendations that government may have on them. Accordingly, I submit herewith the 2024 budget estimates of the judiciary and the judicial service to be laid before Parliament, as well as the recommendations of government on them. Recommendations of government on estimates of judiciary and the judicial service. As requested by the judiciary and the judicial service, government can meet the administrative and operational expenses, compensation of employees and goods and services to the tune of 758,990,399 Ghana cedis, and a capital expenses component of 125,834,848 Ghana cedis for both the judiciary and judicial service in the 2024 budget. Government, therefore, makes the following recommendations on the estimates submitted by the judiciary for the judiciary and the judicial service in Ghana cedis. There, again, I call on the official report to capture the details as outlined in this message. And then I proceed to read the conclusion, which says, accordingly, Parliament is respectfully requested to keep the estimates of the judiciary and the judicial service within the expenditure ceilings recommended by government to enable government contain expenditures within the overall fiscal space for 2024. I would be grateful if you could cause these estimates and recommendations by government to be laid before Parliament. I count on your usual cooperation. Yours sincerely, Nana Adodankwa Akufo-Addo. Honorable members, This message is also referred to the Budget Committee for consideration and report to the House. Definitely, I don't need to tell you that these are recommendations and Parliament is not bound by them. I realize the recommendations in connection with the judiciary is rather on the low side, and members should take it. It was just about 82% of what they requested for. And 2024, you know, will require a lot of vigilance. And we may be looking for the assistance of the judiciary. So please, kindly take note of that. We approve, they recommend. So at the end of the day, you won't be saying that it's the executive. It will be Parliament, not executive. The last but not the least message is dated 12th December 2023. It reads, Mr. Speaker, honorable members, I need your attention. This deals with Parliament. Member of staff, the lady in front of me, please. You don't need to hide there. You need to take yourself from there and allow the member to listen. This message is dated 12 December 2023. It reads, Mr. Speaker, Memorandum to the Speaker of Parliament, Criminal Offences Amendment Bill 2023, Criminal Offences Amendment Number 2 Bill 2023, and Armed Forces Amendment Bill 2023. Introduction. This memorandum is submitted in accordance with Article 1068 of the Constitution, and further to my letter dated 28th November 2023, conveying to you my refusal to assent to the Criminal Offences Amendment Bill 2023, the Criminal Offences Amendment Number 2 Bill 2023, and the Armed Forces Amendment Bill 2023, into brackets, the bills. Article 1068 states as follows. Where the President refuses to assent to a bill, he shall, within 14 days after the refusal, state in a memorandum to the President, state in a memorandum to the Speaker, any specific provisions of the bill which, in his opinion, should be reconsidered by Parliament, including his recommendations for amendments, if any. As I indicated during our conversation, while the contents of these bills have my support, there are constitutional concerns regarding their passage by Parliament related to Article 108 of the Constitution, which have profound implications for the integrity of the legislative process. Background. In August and November 2023, respectively, the bills were presented to me for assent in accordance with Article 1067 of the Constitution. However, before I could give my assent to these bills, my attention was drawn to a matter of constitutional concern regarding the nature of these bills as they were introduced into Parliament as private members' bills rather than being presented by or on my behalf. Given my constitutional responsibility and the gravity of the situation, I sought legal advice from the Attorney General, Mr. Godfred Yebuadami, to clarify the implications of Article 108 of the Constitution on the two bills. In a letter dated 15th September 2023, the Attorney General advised me as follows. A. Clause 2 of Article 93 vests legislative power in Parliament, which exercises the legislative power through bills passed by Parliament and assented to by the President. B. Article 108 of the Constitution provides the scope of bills which cannot be introduced in Parliament as private members' bills. C. The Armed Forces Amendment Bill 2023 and the Criminal Offences Amendment No. 2 Bill 2023 are private members' bills which abolish the death penalty by replacing the death penalty with life sentences and hold financial implications for the Consolidated Fund or other public funds of Ghana in terms of the provision of prison facilities, feeding, and health care for the persons convicted to serve life sentences when the bills are assented to by the President. D. The introduction and subsequent passage of the bills as private members' bills do not comply with the requirements of subparagraphs Roman 2 and Roman 3 of paragraph A of Article 108 of the Constitution. Following receipt of the Attorney General's advice, I requested a meeting with you, which we held eventually at my office on 28th November 2023. I followed up with a letter dated 28th November 2023, signifying my refusal to assent to the bills due to the constitutional issues related to Article 108 of the Constitution that I had raised during our meeting. Basis for refusal to assent to the bills. The issue raised is whether the bills, being private members' bills, comply with the requirements of Article 108 of the Constitution. This issue is fundamental and goes to the heart of the constitutionality of the legislative process for the bills. In addressing this issue, I considered the relevant provisions of the Constitution and the Public Financial Management Act 2016, Act 921. Clause 2 of Article 93 of the Constitution vests legislative power in Parliament as follows. Subject to the provisions of this Constitution, the legislative power of Ghana shall be vested in Parliament and shall be exercised in accordance with the Constitution. At the outset, it is important to acknowledge that while the Constitution vests legislative power in Parliament, it also mandates that the exercise of such power must conform to its provisions. Therefore, when the Constitution stipulates a specific procedure for the introduction of certain types of bills, such as private members' bills, Parliament is obligated to adhere to such constitutional guidelines. To sidestep these procedures would constitute a violation of the Constitution. Parliament exercises its legislative power by passing bills that are then assented to by the President. Clauses 1 and 2 of Article 106 of the Constitution provides as follows. 1. The power of Parliament to make laws shall be exercised by bills passed by Parliament and assented to by the President. 2. No bill other than such a bill as is referred to in paragraph A of Article 108 of this Constitution shall be introduced in Parliament unless A. It is accompanied by an explanatory memorandum setting out in detail the policy and principles of the bill, the defects of the existing law, the remedies proposed to deal with those defects, and the necessity for its introduction. And B, it has been published in the Gazette at least 14 days before the date of its introduction in Parliament. Article 108 states that where a bill contemplates the imposition of taxes or charges to any public fund, Parliament shall only proceed where those bills are introduced by or on behalf of the President. Article 108 provides as follows: Parliament shall not, unless the bill is introduced or the motion is introduced by or on behalf of the President, A. Proceed upon a bill, including an amendment to a bill, that in the opinion of the person presiding makes provision for any of the following. Roman 1, the imposition of taxation or the alteration of taxation otherwise than by reduction. Roman 2, the imposition of a charge on the consolidated fund or any other public funds of Ghana, or the alteration of any such charge otherwise than by reduction. 3, the payment, issue, or withdrawal from the consolidated fund or other public funds of Ghana of any monies not charged on the consolidated fund, or any increase in the amount of that payment, issue, or withdrawal. Or Roman 4, the composition or remission of any debt due to the government of Ghana. Or B, proceed upon a motion, including an amendment to a motion, the effect of which, in the opinion of the person presiding, would be to make provision for any of the purposes specified in paragraph A of this article. According to the above constitutional provisions, if a bill does not impact the consolidated fund or any other public funds of Ghana, it may be introduced in Parliament as a private member's bill. Conversely, if a bill has financial implications for the consolidated fund or other public funds of Ghana, it must be introduced by the President or on his behalf. In this instance, the bills in question were introduced by the Honorable Member of Parliament for Madina constituency, Francis Xavier Kojo Sosu, as private members' bills and have subsequently been passed by Parliament. The bills were not introduced on my behalf, although they have obvious financial implications for the consolidated fund or other public funds of Ghana. The bills abolished the statutory death penalty, substituting it with life imprisonment, and criminalize the activities of individuals claiming to be witch doctors or witch finders, imposing custodial sentences for such offenses. The bills carry significant financial consequences for the consolidated fund due to the associated costs of incarceration, sustenance, and health care for those who will be convicted under this bill to serve sentences when they become law. As such, the bills contravene the stipulations of Article 108 of the Constitution, which sets out the conditions under which private members' bills can be introduced. These bills fall under the purview of subclauses Roman 2 and Roman 3 of Clause A of Article 108 of the Constitution. This provision is corroborated further by the Attorney General's opinion stated above. Additionally, subsection 1 of Section 100 of the Public Financial Management Act 2016, Act 921, mandates that any legislation presented to Parliament or submitted for approval must be accompanied by a fiscal impact analysis. Section 100 of Act 921 provides as follows. 1. Any legislation to be laid before Parliament or to be submitted for the approval of Parliament shall be accompanied by a fiscal impact analysis stating the estimated effect on revenues and expenditures during the financial year in which the legislation or proposal is expected to come into effect. 2. The fiscal impact analysis shall be prepared and submitted in accordance with the regulations. The adherence to the above provision of Act 921 would have provided a comprehensive fiscal impact analysis of the bills. This crucial information would have assisted Parliament in ascertaining the financial implications of public funds, thereby facilitating an informed decision on the appropriateness of introducing the bills as private members' bills. Conclusion. In conclusion, upon a thorough review of the relevant constitutional and legislative frameworks, specifically Article 108 of the Constitution and Section 100 of the Public Financial Management Act 2016, Act 921, it is evident that the bills introduced as private members' bills by the Honourable Member of Parliament for Medina Constituency, Francis Xavier Kojo-Susu, do not conform with the provisions of the Constitution. These bills, which abolish the statutory death penalty and criminalize the activities of witch doctors or witch finders, entail substantial financial obligations on the Consolidated Fund and other public funds of Ghana due to the projected costs related to imprisonment, sustenance, and health care for those who will be convicted under the bills when they become law. Therefore, in light of this significant fiscal impact, these bills should not have been introduced without prior fiscal impact analysis, nor without my initiation or on my behalf. The absence of such an analysis precludes these bills from being properly classified as private members' bills. The legislative power entrusted to Parliament comes with the responsibility to ensure that all enacted laws comply with the constitutional provisions safeguarding the nation's fiscal integrity and upholding the principles of governance. Mr. Speaker, it is for the above reasons that I, in preserving the sanctity of the legislative process, refused to assent to the bills. I take this opportunity to reiterate my support for the contents of the bills and my intention for them to be reintroduced in Parliament on my behalf in due course. Yours sincerely, Nana Adodankwa Akufo-Addo. Honorable members, I definitely, totally, vehemently disagree with the positions taken by the President. The President has got it tragically wrong. Tragically wrong. And I will submit in the form of a statement under Article 53 my position in this matter, and allow members of the House to make comments so that we can take a clear position in this matter. And I will do so during the course of this week. The President has not been properly advised, and the President has not been properly informed of the processes these bills have gone through. So I will submit a detailed write-up on it for members to make their comments. But I'm very clear that this message and the contents are irregular, wrongful, and unconstitutional. The responsibility to decide whether a bill should come on the private member or not rests on the person presiding. The procedure in the Act clearly states what the President is expected to do when a bill passed by Parliament and is referred to the President, and the President refuses to assent to the bill. The provisions are clear as to what the President should do. It's not for the President to decide on the constitutionality or otherwise of a bill that has been presented and considered by Parliament. Read the Act and the clauses of the Constitution. Definitely, this power of Parliament will not be taken away by any executive authority. I will submit a write-up on this matter, and members will be given the opportunity to make their comments, and we'll take it from there. Truly, the President invited me to discuss this matter. And when he raised this, I told him that I completely disagree with him. And I gave my reasons. He disagreed with me, and he proceeded to submit. And as he holds my views, and this process will have to be gone through, we cannot backslide by somebody's understanding of what the Constitution says without basis, no facts. I said he's not been properly briefed because we went through all the processes he's mentioning. Please, when I submit my statement, you'll be permitted to make your comments. As at now, I'm just to read it for you and then indicate, or to use the constitutional term, signify my position on the matter, which I have done. And so I'll come back with the full statement, and I said in the form of a statement under Article 53, and then the whole House will give the opportunity to make comments on it. With this, we'll move on. Honorable members, item 4, correction of votes and proceedings and official report. Majority Leader, you caught my eye, but I don't think I will permit you to make comments now. When I submit my statement, you will be given the opportunity to make comments.
Speaker, you don't even know what I'm going to say. And then you are saying to me that preemptively that you are not going to allow me to make any statement. You don't even know what I'm going to say.
Majority Leader, you are not the first timer in this House.
I know.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm not the first speaker.
Yes.
Please resume your seat.
Mr. Speaker,
votes and proceedings of Saturday, 16th December 2023, page 1.
What is this preemptive strike on
page 2?
The Speaker, the Majority Leader. What is this?
Page 3.
Parliament. What is this that you are seeing in Ghana Parliament?
Page 4.
What is this?
Page 5. Page 6. Page 7. Page 8. Page 9. Page 10. Page 11. Page 12. Page 13. Page 14. Page 15. Page 16. Honorable members, in the absence of any corrections, the votes and proceedings of the 33rd sitting, dated Saturday, 16th December 2023, are adopted as a true record of proceedings. I have no copy of the official report. And so we proceed to item 5, questions. Yes, Honorable Member.
Right, Mr. Speaker, please, respectfully, we have 2 votes and proceedings. That of Saturday has been submitted to us. We've only worked on Friday, so Saturday is outstanding.
Well, I have only one, which is Saturday, 16th December. That is what I read.
Friday was corrected on Saturday.
I'm told Friday was corrected on Saturday. Yes, so it is Saturday that I read. Honorable members, we have one urgent question. One urgent question who stands in the name of the Honourable Member for South Tong, Honourable Korbina Mensah Woyomi, to the Minister for Food and Agriculture. The Minister may take his seat. Honourable members, I neither see the minister nor the member who has proposed to ask the question. So we will stand that down and move on to item 6, which is also questions. Yes, Majority Leader.
Speaker, the Minister for Food and Agriculture has had to respond to an emergency, and so is unavoidably absent, and is signaled for us to take his questions to Wednesday for him. The Attorney General is also coming from the University of Ghana Medical Center. It's not yet in. In the meanwhile, the reports that are ready are being printed at the printing room there. Mr. Speaker, so in the event, I want to propose that we suspend sitting for between 45 minutes and 1 hour to enable as many of the reports to come from the printing room, and then we can deal with them. And I guess by the time the Attorney General will also be here to respond to the questions. If we can suspend for 1 hour.
Yes, minority from bench.
Mr. Speaker, it is very, very disappointing once again. We have few days to go on adjournment. The government side in this House is unable to constitute reasonable business for us to do. And Mr. Speaker, you will see this same side compelling members to work beyond reasonable time from Wednesday, pushing us to work from at midnight and others. Mr. Speaker, this is not fair. If they are no longer interested in being government, they can resign. They can resign even today.
Yes.
You can't compel members of parliament to come to work even on Saturday. And when we come to work on Monday, you have no business for us. What were you elected to do? To look into the air? Mr. Speaker, this is unprecedented, and this is unprecedented. We can't take this any longer. And Mr. Speaker, we are serving notice. On Friday, nobody in this House will be compelled to work towards 12 midnight. We shall close within reasonable time. Whatever business we do, we'll take the appropriation bill before 12 midnight and close. Mr. Speaker. This is not right, Mr. Speaker. But since they don't have any business, and he said we should suspend for 1 hour, we don't have any business to do. The private things we can do, which is the private business that we have done, the president has come to say that he doesn't like it. So what else are we supposed to do? What else are we supposed to do, Mr. Speaker? You don't have business. When we do our private business, you say you don't like it. What do you want us to do, Mr. Speaker? Well, Mr. Speaker, they say they don't have anything to do. We should suspend for 1 hour. We don't have anything to do.
No, we'll not suspend.
We don't have any enforcement.
Hello, Honorable Mama Yaga.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Given that they don't have business, we have business. Yeah, we have business. Mr. Speaker, I want to seek your leave pursuant to Order 72 to raise a matter of urgent public importance, and then to request this Parliament to take action on the matter under another law that gives us the authority to take action in such circumstances, even though you may have to give clarity on how we take such an action. So, Speaker, this morning...
Honourable Member, you haven't submitted the terms of any such proposed statement to me. I haven't received any such lesson from you. So,
Mr. Speaker, my understanding is that my leaders got to you on the matter, and you gave approval that I could raise the issue. Mr. Speaker, I do understand that pursuant to Order 72, that I should give you a copy. Which copy is on the way to the chamber, Mr. Speaker? Which copy is on the way to the chamber? Mr. Speaker, a copy was brought, but it wasn't written the way that I wanted. So I have a copy, but I don't want to submit this one. So I edited it and asked my PA to print it again and bring it. I was hoping that by the time we got to statements, I would have been able to hand it to you. Mr. Speaker, as you can see, the copy has actually arrived. The copy has arrived, and I will share copies with the leadership.
Honourable Member.
Yes.
Yes, at the pre-sitting meeting, your leader, the minority leader, indicated that you intend to make a statement under Order 72. But I hadn't received the terms of the statement. And so I couldn't say that I will permit you to make the statement. I couldn't say I will not permit you to make the statement. So until I receive it and go through it, I will not be able to permit you to make the statement. Yes, Majority Chief Whip.
Speaker, thank you for the opportunity. So a while ago, my good friend, Deputy Whip, made a number of statements. And I think my colleague made a number of statements. For the records, it's important we correct those statements. Speaker, my friend, as affectionately called, knows how hard working both of us have been all this while, especially when it comes to getting reports ready for motions to be taken. I'm surprised the statement he made that we are not ready to prosecute government business. We can ask him where he was on Saturday. Saturday when we were here prosecuting government business, and Saturday, for information, we took 6 motions on estimate. You were holidaying in Hope, only for you to rush to the chamber this morning and say that we are not committed to prosecute government business. He knows, even when the reports are ready. Even when the reports are ready to receive the signatures of the chairman, more often than not, the Honorable Ablaka will bear me out. When I was chair, he was ranking. He will insist, and ranking members insist, we want to peruse the report, which is fair. So in this instance, I think you've misfired. The ranking members also have a role to play. And this is Parliament that is made up of two sides of the house. You have a role to play. What have you been telling your ranking members? So that, for his information, he hasn't been to the printing room. I have been to the printing room all day. Ask him how many reports are ready. He doesn't know. He doesn't even know. So I want to plead with you. Yes, and so we don't have a direct. Mr. Speaker, it is below the belt. If you don't know where to go and ask for and get your report, you may not get it. And if the majority chief whip is looking for a report for a minority ranking member, then he will not get it. Mr. Speaker, on a very serious note, we are adjourning on Friday, and the number of motions that have to be moved on the estimates are many. Even on Saturday, we reduced the number of contributors to 1-1, all to make sure that we are able to take more reports. And if there is no report, how do you take a report? Mr. Speaker, on Saturday, Friday, Sunday, even yesterday when we were at church, subsidiary legislation and other committees were at committee meetings. We are not saying that we are in opposition, therefore we are not going to help government business. But when somebody is watching your back, FDF will tell you, you must wash your front. Yes. So ranking members should not be blamed. The ranking members are washing your back for you. You should be able to wash your front. Where are the ministers? Where are the chairmen of the committees? Mr. Speaker, if you are about to go to opposition, everything works to your disadvantage. And Mr. Speaker, the symptoms of opposition is not new to you. You have been here when we are getting to transition. Mr. Speaker, the syndrome of opposition is too clear. How come that you are majority, then we have come to parliament and we are turned to be majority? Mr. Speaker, even when you say you are minority, you don't want to accept. But count the numbers. We are majority now. But Mr. Speaker, on a very serious note, we are working together. So if about 1 or 2 committee reports are ready, let's take the leader quickly. We are showing leadership by example. Even though we are working today, as we sit here, members' phones are calling. Their constituents want them to go and vote. Yes. We made a statement on this floor that there's low turnout when it comes to district level elections. But parliamentary statements are to address issues. If you want to address the matter of low turnout in district level elections, you should not be here today. So if there are 1 or 2 reports, move them, let's approve, and then adjourn. We must be able to adjourn before 2 o'clock. Somebody is going to Bunkrugu Yoyo to go and vote. The member is here. If you don't go and vote on this, you will be accused. So, Mr. Speaker, not that he talked because he wanted to talk, but on a very serious note, there are matters to be discussed. And ministers of state must make sure that they present their report together with their chairman. Where we are, these 3 days or 4 days left, Mr. Speaker, a minister should prioritize parliament than to any other work. We cannot come and always this matter will be raised and raised and raised. So, Mr. Speaker, it's a serious issue that must be addressed, and we must address it well. Thank you for the opportunity.
Honourable members, I thought this was enough, but Minority Leader, you want to have a word?
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much for the opportunity. Mr. Speaker, tomorrow is the day that Ghanaians will be voting for the district level elections. Mr. Speaker, all of us as members of parliament are expected to be in our constituencies, largely to take part in the district and assembly elections. Mr. Speaker, this morning I was of the view that we come in early, take some motions on the budget estimate, get them approved, so that by 2 o'clock, members can make their way to their respective constituencies, at least to take part in the district level elections. So that, Mr. Speaker, tomorrow they have to vote and come back to the chamber by 2 o'clock for us to start our business. Mr. Speaker, I urge that, in spite of the fact that we want to work, and since the reports are not ready, Mr. Speaker, let us adjourn so that members can go to their respective constituencies. Mr. Speaker, I think it's important for us to adjourn now so we can go to our constituencies and take part in the district level elections. So tomorrow we can come back by 2 p.m. and continue the government business. So, Mr. Speaker, I move that this House adjourn till tomorrow 2 p.m. so we can come back tomorrow and then continue our work. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable members, please. The this House decided to roll out a program to celebrate the 30 years of the continuous existence of this Parliament and the Fourth Republic. As part of the program, I lead delegations of Parliament to various regions to interact with our people. It was the turn of the Volta region, and so on Thursday, I had to lead a delegation including the minority chief whip to the Volta region. So he was actually not on holidays. He was not on holidays, and truly he participated actively in the activities. We are aware that Parliament is under pressure, and we managed to give good reason for the absence of members who were not there. So please, let it not be said that the minority chief whip was on holidays. He wasn't. Again, the pre-sitting meeting, we discussed these matters, and there was no agreement. The proposal was for us to adjourn at 1 because members are due to travel to their constituencies to vote tomorrow and to return to Accra so that on Wednesday we could commence business on time. The majority leader disagreed with the 1 and proposed that we could do business beyond the 1, and then later on again for members to travel. There was, however, some disagreement because they mentioned that some people had to go as far as Boko, and they thought that they needed more time. So we never settled on the timing, but the proposal was 1. In view of what has happened, I am tempted to suspend sitting for the 1 hour. By the time we come, some reports will be ready for us to take. And then I propose that by 2:30, we adjourn for members to go to their constituencies to vote tomorrow. It's important that we participate in the district level elections. As members of Parliament, you know how crucial it is to your survival. People cannot be voting for you, and you will not be voting for them. So please, I know how critical it is. So I plead with you for us to take a suspension and then to be back by 1:45. This thing before me is about 12:25. So about 20 minutes time, we return. 2, 1. So we resume sitting at 1 and then adjourn at 2:30. Is that the understanding of the House? We resume at 1 and adjourn at 2:30.
Mr. Speaker, that will be reasonable, unless we are saying that we don't expect colleagues who want to go and vote tomorrow to go. Because if we want to be realistic, Mr. Speaker, we shouldn't use MPs in Accra or Volta region as a yardstick. Somebody is going to Boku. Somebody is going to all other parts of the country. So, Mr. Speaker, we can't say that we should close at 3 o'clock or we should go on. Those who want to go should go. Otherwise, we should have been doing it in a different way. So, Mr. Speaker, 2:30 is okay. When we come, Mr. Speaker, we can do. I could see they just brought 1 report. Maybe by the time we come back, there could be another 2 reports. We can take 2 or 3 reports and close, Mr. Speaker. So 2:30 should be an agreed time for us to adjourn when we return at 1 o'clock.
Honorable members. Yes, Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, first to say that as the Majority Chief Whip said, the reports, there are many reports in the printing room, and nobody has any control over what happens in the printing room. It should not be made to appear as if the government benches are refusing to do business. No such impression should be created. Nobody has any control over what happens there. It is not the charge of the Minority Chief Whip, neither is it the charge of the Majority Chief Whip. Mr. Speaker, once the reports go there, you expect that the officials there will do their job and bring them here. Mr. Speaker, again, some factual inaccuracies have been made. The Deputy Whip for the Minority said that we propose not to conduct business today. Nobody said that. The Business Committee never said that. Please, don't make such statements on the floor of the House. The Business Committee never proposed that we will not sit on Monday. It was rather Tuesday. And then we concluded by saying that rather we should commence sitting at 2 o'clock. That's for tomorrow, Tuesday, not today. Don't mix up the issues. Mr. Speaker, again, I pleaded for the cause of the Minister for Food and Agriculture, who I said has had an emergency and is requesting that we allow the business in respect of the questions to be done on Wednesday, not the Attorney General. Clearly, we're not even listening to what I was saying. Mr. Speaker, the Attorney General, I said, has had to respond to an issue at the University of Ghana Medical Center. We don't have control of our health. So if the person visits the hospital and sends signal that I'm on my way coming, I'll be here, that should be a matter for accusation. What is happening in Ghana's Parliament? Mr. Speaker, as for somebody saying that what is happening is a symptom of opposition, I don't want to comment on wishful thinking. It's his own thinking, his own imagination. But again, to say that the minority benches are fuller than the majority, that clearly I appreciate. But this is not the first time. On a typical day, government benches are depleted. On a typical day, because the president is obligated under the Constitution to appoint majority of ministers from the majority benches. Is the reason why. And you are an experienced member of Parliament. I think your vision is not impaired on this matter. But to come and say that, today we have many more people than you are, so this is an opposition syndrome. Where from this? An elder of the Pentecost Church. Speak to the truth. Yes, Speaker, I guess as we said, we can suspend sitting and come back at 1 o'clock. 1 o'clock should be okay.
Honorable members, we schedule to inaugurate 40 registered parliamentary friendship associations on Wednesday, 20th December 2023 at 10:30 a.m. This will be done in the Chamber of Parliament. We have invited the diplomatic corps of those countries, and they will be seated by 10 a.m. So we'll do the inauguration, very short one, before we commence proceedings on Wednesday. We want members during the recess and the following year to engage actively in parliamentary diplomacy. So please, you are all invited. Don't be absent. With this, sitting is suspended until 1 in the forenoon. Honorable members, welcome back from the suspension of sitting. We will now be guided by the leadership of the House.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm the available leader at this point in time.
Motion
Mr.
number.
Speaker, motion item 21 on page 13. Thank you.
Available majority leader. That is the motion on the Minister of Energy. I hope there is no alliance.
Mr. Speaker, I totally agree with her. Let's take motion number 21.
Honorable members, at the commencement of public business, item 21, motion, Minister for Energy.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to move motion number 21 on today's order paper, page 13, that this honorable House approves the sum of 1,499,754,383 cedis for the service of the Ministry of Energy for the year ending 31st December 2024. So moved.
Any seconder? Yes, Chairman.
Yes. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I rise to second the motion, and on that basis, I crave your indulgence to present your committee's report.
Conclusion.
Honorable Speaker, the energy sector is the heartbeat of the economy. The sector policy objectives are captured at page 3 of the report. And I'll crave the indulgence of the Answer Department to capture the entire report as duly read. Honorable Speaker, the activities for the year, which are very, very, very important, may be found at page 11 or 14 of the report. And with the greatest of respect, I might want to read the conclusion and the recommendation of the committee. The committee has scrutinized the 2024 annual budget estimate of the Ministry of Energy in the light of the necessity to provide sustainable energy supply to support the country's development agenda. In this respect, the committee takes the considered view that the allocation made to the 2024 budget estimates of the ministry are justified. However, certain critical activities of the ministry and its agencies, including the proposed construction of a backup data recovery center, will be hampered if additional resources are not made available to the ministry and its agencies. In the premises, the committee recommends to the House to adopt this report and approve the sum of 1,499,744,383 Ghana cedis for the services of the Ministry of Energy for the 2024 financial year. Respectfully submitted. Right, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable members, motion moved and seconded is for the consideration of the House. I want to know from leadership the number of people you want to contribute to the debate. Yes, please.
Speaker, we want to do one on each side. Let's become extremely important, then we can do two. But for now, we'll start with one on each side.
One from each side of the House, excluding the minister and the chair, or
That excluding the minister and the chair.
Mr. Speaker, what I was trying to explain to my colleague is we do 2-2. Then the minister becomes a third person normally on their side. So we do 2-2 quickly, then we can. So 1-1 is too small, Mr. Speaker. Yeah. Yes, exactly.
so you have
Ranking
chairman
member and another person.
ranking, then one other.
Yes, please.
Or from his side, okay. Yes, so the rank member on energy is not available.
Mr. Speaker, in that case, Honorable Pepper will do.
Oh,
that for-
okay. Honorable member.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to comment on the reports of the Committee of Mines on Mines and Energy, and to say that, Mr. Speaker, we notice that there had been some efforts made to tackle the overall energy needs of Ghana, and lots of commitments have been made in that direction. We, however, notice that some of the key challenges that were faced by the ministry were things that are likely to have a direct total effect on the energy supplies of Ghana. The Speaker, there have been the key issue that was noted, that we noted with satisfaction, was the attempt to streamline and tackle the energy requirements of Ghana to the extent that nuclear power activities, which had been abandoned years ago, has now been tackled in its comprehensive sense. And in that sense, we do acknowledge the fact that about 50% of the efforts being made was recorded, and that is something we want to commend the ministry about. The Speaker, otherwise, the allocation to the ministry, which was about 917 million plus in 2023, was looked at, and we noticed that what was received, what was released to them, was only 615,000 plus, 635,000 plus. We are hoping that because of the huge efforts going to be made in the various fields of industry that is going to tackle the power needs, we will urge the Ministry of Finance to release more funding to the ministry, because a lot more is going to happen. We don't want to see a situation of doomsday which is beginning to take shape in this country. We want to see a more committed approach to power and the need for us to strengthen our power requirements. Mr. Speaker, not much can be said beyond this, and I will thank you for the opportunity.
Yes, Honorable Deputy Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to support the motion for the approval of the budget estimate for the Ministry of Energy. Mr. Speaker, note a few of the points in this report. One of them was that on page 12, paragraph 11.2, says that the committee noted that the Ministry of Finance settled a sum of $6,445 million as payment on independent producers and related expenses. Mr. Speaker, this is a known fact. But one of the challenges we are facing right now has to do with payments, outstanding payments to power producers. There was a recent trek by Sonia Assembly to shut down. It only took an immediate payment of over 20 million or so for Sonia Assembly to start operation. It is very, very clear that the payment plans that were made, especially the establishment of ESLA, And the ESLA PLC that was established to properly make sure that payments are made is actually not working in a way that satisfies the power producers. It is important that this government focuses attention on dealing with the issues of payments, especially working to build the capacity of the ECG to be able to collect enough to make sure they can make payments to these power producers. Mr. Speaker, if we are not able to do that, we have imminent danger of facing power crisis. Mr. Speaker, it's also to be noted that in the last 7 years, we have not been focusing on the reality that there are annual demands, annual requirements for new power additions. And so this government has started some moves to basically ensure that there will be power additions in the coming year. But they must keep their eye on the ball in that area. Mr. Speaker, when it comes to rural electrification, we have made a lot of progress, but we have not reached universal access. One of the reasons why we can't get to that bridge is because we must focus attention on communities in island communities and others that will never get the power grid of island communities and others. And those, if you look at the budget, is always left to the mercy of donors, donor partners. When it comes to the solar, the issue of solar and other renewable sources, we have really paid lip service to really investing money on renewable energy. And that is why you see the numbers we have when it comes to solar, when it comes to wind and other renewable sources. We must pay attention to these two issues. If we did, we can really call ourselves a country that has achieved universal access to electricity. This government, quite frankly, must really back up. Mr. Speaker, the other issue that was raised was the government petroleum hub. And there was a talk here that 20,000 acres of land has been acquired. Mr. Speaker, I have to point out that every expert has said that 20,000 acres of land from the people of Jomoro is more than what too much. And ideally, the request by these communities is that 5,000 acres of land is what can be used for the petroleum hub. But this government doesn't want to have anything to do with that. The reality is that the government must answer the question, are we ready to pay 20,000 acres of land compensation? I don't think so. We don't have the budget here for them. Even those who had crops, economic crops on this land have not been paid. And so we must revisit the issue of 20,000 of people's land. And that is why they are up in arms. That's why some of them have even gone as far as to the court to challenge the decision to acquire 20,000 acres of land. We must really take a look at that. Mr. Speaker, the quest for Ghana to really get to a point where nuclear power becomes part of our energy mix has been a long journey. And we have been making very slow steps. In this budget, there's a talk about some of the steps we've taken. But, Mr. Speaker, we must as a country really finally make that move. The move that was started by Sergeant Dr. Kramuk, where we can have nuclear power as part of our energy mix, if indeed we want to get to the goal of industrialization. No industrial country who has developed and created jobs has the energy mix without the nuclear power. And so we must get to that point. And that will be the day that we can be proud that we are getting to a point where we are getting to the quantum leap in industrialization and creating the jobs for our people. On that note, Mr. Speaker, I ask that we support the motion to approve 1,499,754,383 Ghana cedis for the Ministry of Energy. I thank you.
Yes.
Current Speaker,
Chair.
may I crave your kind indulgence? There is a typographical error at the front of the report. It should be the Ministry of Energy, not the Ministry of Mines and Energy. It should be Ministry. Oh. Yes. So the record should so reflect. I'm grateful to you.
Yes.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity to contribute to the motion moved by the Honorable Minister for Energy, seeking the approval of the House to approve the budget estimates for the Ministry of Energy for its activities for 2024. Indeed, if you look at the report, you will see the enormous strides that the Ministry of Energy has made in the 2023 financial year, and also the program outlined for 2024. It is refreshing that my two colleagues who spoke on the other side indeed commended the ministry for the work that it is doing in the nuclear energy space by, if you like, reviving that aspect of our energy mix, which was abandoned for a very long time and has been revisited with the clear objective under our energy transition framework to roll out a third of our energy mix to be nuclear, essentially to serve as a base load for our energy transition agenda going forward. Mr. Speaker, my very senior colleague from the Western region made some comments with respect to power additions and the fact that we have taken our eye off the ball, if you like. That is farther from the truth, Speaker. Indeed, if you look at the composition or the components of our energy generation capacity as exists, it wouldn't have made sense for government between 2017 to 2022 or 23, if you like, to contract additional power, because we clearly had excess generation capacity available on our grid. And so what it is that we have done is to look forward, that if you look at the energy supply plan, it is from 2027, 2028 onwards that the existing generation would be consumed. And so what the Ministry of Energy has done is to begin the process of contracting additional power that will come on stream from that period going. And so that has to be said. Speaker again makes reference to island communities and suggests that we may not be able to reach universal access. Speaker, indeed, the numbers today is 88.85%. And the Ministry of Energy has initiated some off-grid electricity generation program that this House approved the facility from AFDB and the Swiss Development Corporation to enable us roll out 35 mini grids in island communities and also solar PV, and that is all in the works to ensure that we are able to achieve universal access, which is defined under the SDG rules as 90% by 2024. That is a commitment that His Excellency the President has given, and we are working strenuously to ensure that we are able to achieve that target. Speaker, again on the petroleum hub, that was a law that was also passed by this House, and I must inform my friend on the other side that indeed land acquisition is not an event. It is a process that will take time. Surveyors will have to go in, they have to demarcate, you have to value the land by the Land Valuation Authority, board house of the Lands Commission, before finally compensation is paid to the owners of the land from whom these lands have been acquired. And all that process is ongoing. That is exactly the work that the Petroleum Hub Development Corporation is doing. When they attended upon the committee, they explained the work that they've been doing over the past year, the consultants that they've engaged to assist them in that regard. And I can assure this House that we will do whatever is necessary within the remit of the law to ensure that everything is done in the proper way to ensure that the Petroleum Hub development vision that His Excellency the President has articulated comes to light. Speaker, with these few words, I also wish to support the motion and ask the House to approve the estimates that have been earmarked for the Ministry of Energy for its activities in the year 2024. I thank you for the space.
Honorable members, I put the question. The question is that as many as are in favor of the motion number 21 on the order paper, say aye. Those against, say no. Honorable members, the ayes have it. The motion is accordingly adopted. The House has approved the sum of 1,499,754,383 Ghana cedis for the Ministry of Energy for the year ending 31st December 2024. Yes.
Speaker, may we turn to page 11 of today's order paper. Page 11, item 13.
Honorable members, page 11, item 13, motion, Minister for Information.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that this Honorable House approves the sum of 22,890,222 Ghana cedis for the services of the Right to Information Commission for the year ending 31st December 2024. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Motion moved. Any seconder? Yes, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to second the motion. And in doing so, Mr. Speaker, I present the report of the Committee on Constitutional, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs. Its annual estimates of the Right to Information Commission. Mr. Speaker, I would beg the table office to capture the entire report in its entirety and beg to deal with the conclusion part of the report, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the committee, having carefully scrutinized the estimates of the Right to Information Commission, is satisfied that the programs outlined for the year would ultimately promote the right to information, which is cardinal to the participatory, inclusive, transparent, accountable, and open governance. The Speaker, the committee accordingly recommends the House to adopt its report and approve the sum of 22,890,222 Ghana cedis. Mr. Speaker, I so second the motion. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable members, motion moved and seconded is now for the consideration of the House. Yes, Honorable Member.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to contribute to the motion numbered item 13 on today's order paper, page 11, that this Honorable House approves the sum of 22,890,222 cedis for the services of the Right to Information Commission for the year ending 31st December 2024. Mr. Speaker, with reference to the mission statement as well as the vision of the right to information captured in the report is very, very clear. Their functions are spelled out in the law. It's also very, very clear, and I'm inclined to support the approval of the amount as stated in the motion. Mr. Speaker, there is an observation at page 5 of the report. Mr. Speaker, it is observable
that the table that spells out the financial performance of the Right to Information Commission is vertically and horizontally wrong. Mr. Speaker, it is vertically and horizontally wrong in the sense that if you refer to the compensation, goods and services, rent, CAPEX, it came to an amount of 19,085,132. But what is here as a total is 18,085,132, a shortfall of $1 million. Mr. Speaker, if you go to the amount released, it's the same. The correct figure should have been 30,495,802. But what is contained here is 12,018,977.42 pesos. The same thing applies to the actual expenditure. The actual expenditure, the figure that they have is 17,657,444 cedis 27 pesos, when the correct figure should have been 16,177,621. The same thing applies to the calculation of the variance. Mr. Speaker, if you look at the percentages, that is the release percentage over the allocation over the release, the percentage that is indicated here is 21%, and it's supposed to be 78.1%, because the marginal note is releases. If you are looking for 13,049,132, and your actual release is 10,195,177.42, then the amount that was released, if you are finding the release over the allocation, is supposed to be 78.1%, but not 21%, as indicated here. Goods and services is supposed to be 42%, but not 58%, as provided. And then for GOG is supposed to be 42%, but no percentage is provided. Mr. Speaker, I believe strongly that this ought to have been corrected, so that the true reflection of the financial performance of the Right to Information Commission would be reflected. Mr. Speaker, the committee was informed that the Right to Information Commission in the year under review was able to establish 2 regional offices. And then looking at the outlook for the 2024, they are promising to increase it by 3. They will do another 3 regional offices. And Mr. Speaker, we observe that the percentage increase in allocation for CAPEX and goods and services was too small to enable them establish a complete new regional offices, because the increase in the allocation for goods and services is only 12%, and then for CAPEX it is 8.7%. Mr. Speaker, we consider this to be woefully inadequate in order to enable the Commission to establish the 3 regional offices that they propose to establish. Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, I urge the House to approve the amount. No, Mr. Speaker, before the conclusion, it was observed that for goods and services, the allocation or the amount approved by the House is 1 million. The release is 420. However, the actual expenditure is 2,837,722 cedis, 85 pesos. And Mr. Speaker, they say this is giving a variance to 580. This is totally impossible, because clearly there is an expenditure overrun for goods and services. Because if your allocation is 1 million, but you are telling us your actual expenses is 2,837,000. However, it was only 420 that was released to you. Then the difference between 420 and then the 2.8 million, where did you get that money from?
Good money.
Mr. Speaker, there is no indication as to where they have that particular amount of money from. So, Mr. Speaker, though we are asking that this amount be approved for them, I think they should look at their financial performance for the year under review. Mr. Speaker, with these few words, I support the motion.
Yes, Chairman, I just wanted to cross-check because he raised a number of issues. The Honorable Ajua Safo, I don't think she was focused on you when you called on the House to make a number of amendments to the figures that you moved for us to adopt. Now the substantive chairman is saying whether you captured them and whether you agree with his ranking, yes. But our attention was not drawn to the disparities by the movers of the motion. So it's the ranking that is now drawing our attention. I just want to know whether he's right so that we can accept them and move on. Look at table 1. Table 1, almost all the figures there, he raised even goods and services. When you look at actual expenditure, so huge, over 1 million. And then he raised a question, that money come from, is not shown in the report. And it came from. So I just wanted your comment on that, then we can move.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. If I may provide some information. So, Mr. Speaker, the 2024, the 2023 financial report as he speaks to, the one I'd like to speak to is the discrepancy between the amount released and then the actual expenditure. The reason is that for the budget of 1,420,000 was actually released, and this was explained by the commission members when they appeared before the committee. However, there was a need to pay rent ahead of time for the ensuing financial year. And the commission requested for funding and was given separate allocation to have that done. It is that they have captured in their report, which then moves the figure to the 2.8. But for their actual goods and service for their programs for the year, it was 420 that was released. That explains the discrepancy between these numbers. It was explained at the committee meeting when the commissioners...
Where did that money come from?
That money came from the Office of Government Machinery.
That's the explanation that should be captured in the report, which is absent. Well, we can now go on. Yes, please.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, I'm rising to avert the mind of this House to your own directive you gave same time last year relative to the Right to Information Commission. It's an anomaly that I think the Clerk of Parliament and Table Office failed to oblige based on your directive. The Right to Information Commission is under the Ministry of Information, and the parallel parliamentary body that should have oversight is not the Constitutional, Parliamentary and Legal Affairs Committee, but the Committee on Communications. So you have the Minister for Information appear before the Committee on Communications with all his agencies with the exception of RTI, and then goes to Constitutional with RTI. They should appear before the Committee on Communications. And last year, the Speaker did give that directive, but it was not complied with this year because the RTI Commission and their work is actually through the Ministry of Information. and that minister is supervised by the Communications Committee of Parliament. So it is important that we do this alignment so that next year, because the budget, the annual reports, and even doing monitoring and evaluation of their work should come under the Parliamentary Select Committee of Communications and not Constitutional, Parliamentary and Legal Affairs. So once again, I want to draw the attention of the House and seek the Speaker's guidance again based on his earlier directive last year. I thank you, Right Honourable Speaker.
Yes, honourable members, I think this commission is an agency under the Ministry of Information. Yes?
Mr. Speaker, just to correct the nomenclature being used, it's not an agency under the Ministry of Information. It's an independent body that was set up, but we are the ministry that collaborates with that body, and minister in the Act is defined to refer to the Ministry of Information. But properly speaking, it's not an agency under our control because of the kind of work they do. And yes, Mr. Speaker, as was rightly mentioned by my colleague, last year you mentioned that we should appear before Communications, but this year we were invited by Constitutional and Legal. So if that correction can take place for subsequent years. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Did you say it's an independent commission?
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
Independent of what? Or who?
May I use the word autonomous rather?
Well, I think the practical effect of the bill is that the Ministry of Information oversees the policy formulation and guidance of the Commission, not the Attorney General or Ministry of Justice. And so the budget should rather go to the Committee on Information, not Constitutional, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs. I think that is not correct. Yes, because all the reports are sent to this committee, and so they will be able to monitor and supervise the activities of the Commission, not the legal committee. Maybe because of the issue of rights, the right to information. Maybe that is why, but yes, Majority Leader.
Speaker, I believe we can let this one pass and perhaps subsequently take a firm decision on these matters. You recollect that the Common Fund Administrator used to come under the Special Budget Committee when we created Special Budget Committee. Along the line, no thanks to the Honorable Dominica Zuma, it went back to Local Government Committee. The commissions that we created, we said they should all relate to the Special Budget Committee. And so we are not consistent in these matters. So I'm saying that maybe this one can pass, but subsequently the House should take a firm decision as to where to locate these commissions. The Speaker, even the Community Water and Sanitation Authority, when it used to be agency, it was under Western Housing. Then it became an authority, and we said, no, if it's an authority, then let it relocate elsewhere. Today it's gone back to the sector committee. So let us show some consistency in these matters. Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Agaria.
Mr. Speaker, the Committee for Constitutional, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs is the proper committee to deal with the RTI. The reason is simple. Here we are talking about a human right, the right to information, access to information. And so, Mr. Speaker, if this committee which dealt with the matter is not the proper committee, which other committee is best suited to deal with matters bordering on rights? Which other committee? So, Mr. Speaker, with the greatest respect to Honorable Sam George, this matter is properly before the Constitutional, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs Committee, because the matter has to do with rights. Rights.
Honorable Member, you are completely out of order. If you want to challenge the Speaker's directive, you know the proper thing to do. But the issue under discussion is not on rights. We're talking about budget. We're talking about the budget, the annual estimates of the Commission. I think we should be guided by the fact that the constitutional commissions should come under the supervision of the Special Budget Committee. But legislative commissions that we create should still be under the sector ministries, and therefore the sector committees should oversee, monitor, and supervise them. That should be the directive. But in the meantime, we'll let this pass and be guided for the future. Honorable members, I can put the question. Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against say no. Honorable members, the ayes have it. The motion is carried. The House has accordingly approved the sum of 22,890,222 cedis for the services of the Right to Information Commission for the year ending 31st December 2024.
Speaker.
Yes, please.
Speaker, page 13, item 22.
Page
item 22 of page 13.
Item 22. Motion, Minister for Interior.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that this Honorable House approves the sum of 8,378,262,940 cedis for the services of the Ministry of the Interior for the year ending 31st December 2024. As moved.
Motion moved. Any seconder? Yes.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to second the motion ably moved by the Minister for Interior for this House to approve the sum of 8,378,262,931 Ghana cedis.
Did I hear 931?
Sure.
Because here is 940.
Mr. Speaker, 939.
39.
Ghana cedis. To enable the ministry undertake its activity for the year 2024. Right Honorable Speaker, the Interior Ministry and its agencies play a critical role in the internal security of our country. It is therefore imperative for these agencies to be well resourced to adequately enable them deliver good services. Right Honorable Speaker, in course of considering the appropriation, your committee made some observations, and based on that, some recommendations were made. I would therefore like to reiterate on one of these observations. Right Honorable Speaker, the inadequate inadequate rubber bullet for crowd control. Mr. Speaker, the committee noted with concern that a paltry sum of 56,000 Ghana cedi was allocated to procure rubber bullets for the Ghana Police Service for crowd control. This is woefully inadequate. This is because, Mr. Speaker, 2024 is an election year and crowd control will be essential in the activity of the Ghana Police Service. Mr. Speaker, for the sake of time, I will take you to page 17, item 10.0, and to conclude. The committee, after careful consideration of the annual estimates of the Ministry of Interior, recommends that the House admit reports and approve
red flags as to how unacceptable these figures are for the feeding of prison inmates. Nothing has changed. We are in 2020. We are about to enter the next fiscal year. The figures remain the same. Mr. Speaker, I dare say that we've lost quite a number of prisoners because of malnutrition. And so we need to take note and act accordingly. Mr. Speaker, once again, I'm very passionate about prison-related issues. The committee observed that there is a lot of congestion in our prisons. We have about 47% overcrowding in our 47%. As far back as 2016, Mr. Speaker, the government of the day under President Mahama realized the need to decongest our prisons. So the Nsawam Remand Prison Facility was started. The idea was that upon completion, we would be able to separate remand prisoners from convicts, which is the position of the law. International law and even our own domesticated legislations do not allow us to mix convicts and remands. Unfortunately, that is the situation in this country, Mr. Speaker. Today, if you ask what is the state of completion of the remand prisons facility, it is only 57% complete. Why is it 57% complete? It is 57% complete because the finance ministry does not release money for the honoring of certificates issued by the contractors for the completion of the project. So, Mr. Speaker, these are some of the predicaments of the Ministry for the Interior. And once the Minister for Finance is here, we need to draw his attention to the fact that he has an obligation to honor the certificates that have been raised over the period so that the remand prisons facility can be completed. Mr. Speaker, to conclude, I'd like to touch very quickly on the Narcotics Control Commission LI, which was passed a few days by this honorable House, and to state that such an endeavor would help this country generate resources from the cultivation of industrial cannabis. Industrial cannabis, not cannabis for pleasure. Mr. Speaker, and let me repeat, not cannabis for recreation. Here we are talking about industrial cannabis. Cannabis meant for medicinal purposes. Cannabis meant for the extraction of oils that can be used to, Mr. Speaker, manufacture painkillers, vital medicines for our well-being. On that note, Mr. Speaker, I support the motion moved by the Honourable Minister for the Interior. Thanks for the opportunity.
Honourable members, I put the question. Those in favour of the motion, say aye. Those against, say no. Honourable members, the ayes have it. The motion is adopted. The House has accordingly approved the sum of 8,378,262,000 939 Ghana cedis for the services of the Ministry of Interior for the year ending 31st December 2024. Yes.
Speaker, on same page 13, taking item 23.
Honorable members, item 23 at page 13 of the order paper, motion, Minister for Trade and Industry.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that this Honorable House approves the sum of 1,021,060,398 cedis for the services of the Ministry of Trade and Industry for the year ending 31st December 2024.
Any seconder?
Mr. Speaker, I rise to second the motion and would want to report on the committee's discussion and deliberation on the budget estimate for the Ministry of Trade. Mr. Speaker, I ask the Hansard Department to capture the report in its entirety, but would highlight a few observations of the committee and read the conclusions as was presented. Mr. Speaker, at 7.0 of the report, it was observed that tax exemptions were approved in 2022 and 2023 financial year for the companies operating under the 1D1F program by Parliament. The committee was informed that this action will serve as a disincentive to would-be investors and therefore urges Parliament through the committee to take steps to consider and grant approvals for the all pending requests for tax exemptions. Mr. Speaker, it is interesting to note that in this House, in 3rd of May 2019, at an emergency meeting, this House approved and agreed also that 1D1F enjoys certain tax incentives for growing the program. Mr. Speaker, ironically, the chairman for the Finance Committee today, whilst the minority leader was the ranking member of the same committee. Mr. Speaker, when the Deputy Minister then, who happens to be the chairman of the Finance Committee, was with the executive, exemptions were being granted 2019-2020. So, Speaker, in 2022-2023, all the exemptions that came to this House from 2021 have not been attended to, therefore making industry grow at a negative variance. So, Speaker, the committee is of the opinion that if we do not reconsider our position on these tax exemptions for one companies, we stand to lose a lot as far as industry is concerned. So, I came here with the Hansard of 3rd May 2019, but for the sake of time, I'm not going to read any portion of it. But in there, if anybody should go through the Hansard from 697 to 7721, 24 pages of deliberations went on a day to approve of incentives for 1D1F companies. All the people that I've mentioned who are today not allowing or who are today criticizing exemptions for 1D1F companies were at the helm of affairs when these incentives were approved. So, Mr. Speaker, the committee is recommending that in order that we don't kill the interest of investors, we request that 1D, 1F exemptions and incentives are attended to and granted. This is why we also observe that an agency like Ghana Standards Authority, which is today operating on a new act, has the propensity to survive on its own, Mr. Speaker, and therefore request the Ministry of Trade, as a matter of urgency, to get the Ministry of Finance to wean this agency off government subvention. It is not appropriate at all, Mr. Speaker, that will allow them to sit on government subvention and not be able to do their work. Today, as we speak, not too long ago, the Minister conferred on the Director General of the Ghana State Authority, a Registrar of Metrology or Registrar of Measurements and so on. This position comes with some kind of responsibility, and the responsibility has to do with, if we do not consider winning the Ghana State Authority off government subvention, they won't be able to do their work as appropriate, Mr. Speaker. So whilst I conclude, the committee has examined the 2024 program-based budget estimates for the Ministry of Trade and Industry and found the programs for which the sums have been allocated to be appropriate and in line with the mandate of the ministry and its agencies. The committee, in view of the foregoing, respectfully recommends to the House to adopt this report and approve the sum of 1,021,060,398 Ghana cedis for the implementation of the programs and activities of the Ministry of Trade and Industry and its agencies for 2024 financial year. Mr. Speaker, I so present the report of the committee.
Honourable members, before we go on, I want to be clear on one issue. The seconder of the motion says that the House had earlier on approved some incentives for the 1D, 1F. And in the course of doing that, some members he identified were even leaders in that exercise. But now those members are against the implementation of what was approved by Parliament, and as a result of that, they have not been implemented. Is that the situation?
Mr. Speaker, that is exactly what the situation is. And if you have time, if you give me more time, I will read part of this Hansard. You have the Hansard here.
I'm not concerned about the process of approval.
Mr. Speaker.
How some members can prevent what Parliament has approved from being implemented is what beats my mind. I cannot.
Mr. Speaker, that's what it is. I say that advisedly because not too long ago, the minority leader, who happened to be the ranking for the committee that approved this in 2019, had a press conference or a press release where he listed all these exemptions from 2021 and said that the MPP government is trying to find new ways of circumventing funding. And so therefore the minority was never going to allow these exemptions to be approved. I can provide a copy to this House. That is what the minority leader decided to present to the public. That the exemptions that are come based on the 2019 approvals are not what is supposed to be, but rather a political party, a certain political party, is trying to find ways and means to now look for ways to make money. And that ways of making the money is through the tax exemptions. Meanwhile, he himself was the ranking member for that committee that came out with the report in this House. We sat down and we approved this incentive in this House. But since 2021, they have refused, the Speaker, to grant a single exemption. And that is where we are today. That is why industry is growing at negative percentage.
Yes, Deputy Minority Chief.
Mr. Speaker, everybody in this House knows that the chairman of the committee, now my colleague who just spoke, is a known promoter or advocate for tax waivers. In fact, anytime he makes a presentation on this floor, 70% of his presentation is to accuse his colleagues on the finance committee of sitting or deliberately blocking the approval of tax waivers. Mr. Speaker, tax waivers are government policy. And the comment he made was that since 2019, those tax waivers that have been granted, some members of this House have prevented them from being implemented. Mr. Speaker, you know that is not possible. No member of parliament can stop government from implementing things that have been approved from this House. So whatever you are reading is neither here nor there. Members of parliament do not implement policies. We do not implement policies. Mr. Speaker, it is the responsibility.
The details and actuals of the incentives, tax exemptions and the rest for consideration by the House. That is not the situation. Yes, Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we wouldn't want to detain the House. Obviously, we are rushing against time, so the headways of time. But it's a big issue. Mr. Speaker, you'll recall that I myself have had the occasion to debate this matter in this House. It's a very big one. Mr. Speaker, as the chairman has perfectly articulated the point, there is a policy agreed by this House. Mr. Speaker, I am not about to mention this, but I've mentioned enough names here, Mr. Speaker. Somehow the applications which have been sent to our ministry, which we have then forwarded to the finance ministry, and which finance ministry have certified and presented to this House and your good self as referred to the finance committee, Mr. Speaker, is not moving an inch. So the problem really...
The issue is that the finance committee has not submitted a report to the House.
Won't even sit on them, Mr. Speaker. I have done my best. I have said everything I could. Mr. Speaker is not making any movement at all. So, Mr. Speaker, I think we would defend this matter.
Let me listen to the majority chief whip.
With respect, it's most unfortunate we don't have enough time to deal with this issue. But fact be told, and I largely agree with my colleague Whip. Speaker, the waivers have been referred duly to the Committee of Finance. I know there have been several meetings. I also know there are issues to be dealt with. So I will plead, based on what I know and the facts available to us, that we engage, and the leader of the House, I know, is very experienced in these matters. Both leaders, Speaker, should meet the leadership of the Finance Committee, because the feedback that keeps coming to us is that there are issues that need to be dealt with. Ordinarily, one would have thought that the committee would have worked on these referrals and ferried their reports to plenary for discussion. But as to why that is not being done is a challenge, and it's not an ordinary challenge. So, Speaker, I will only humbly suggest that you defer this matter to the two leaders, ASAP, to meet on it, and we only have Friday to rise. There are a few of them that should be dealt with before we rise. I believe if we resort to that route, we may have some success at the end of the day.
Now, members, Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I was just going to say that we indicated to adjourn at 2:30. I will have so many reports that are still outstanding. The issue that has been raised by the chairman of the committee, Mr. Speaker, the fact of it is, yes, we've done these tax exemption laws. But at the time we came to pass that legislation, the matters that I'm referring to now have already been transacted. And the laws that we make are not meant to have retrospective effect. What it means is that, strictly speaking, those applications don't go under that new law. Mr. Speaker, we will get there. Let's attend to what we have before us. and approve of these motions, we'll have a dedicated time to deal with those matters.
Yeah, but as leader, you should get the committees to report back to the House. Then the House will take the decision. My attention was drawn to one of them some time ago, and I spoke to the chairman of the committee. If you have any concerns, report to the House. But we cannot refer matters to a committee, and the committee on its own decides that they will not report to the House, and that ends the matter. That definitely is unacceptable. You know, we may in future be compelled to take contempt proceedings against some of your people. And you as leaders, you also know that they disqualify themselves from holding some positions. When you are a chair of a committee and you are not performing, the standing orders give the leadership the opportunity to recommend for replacement, which I believe, yes, Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, the truth of the matter is that as far as this one is concerned, we're having some engagement with the leadership of the committee. And unfortunately, because of the way you are going, that you may cause some contempt proceedings initiated against the committee chair. Mr. Speaker, the truth of it is that both the minority leader and I belong to that committee. I don't know whether the contempt will extend to us. But we'll deal with it.
Whether he's a leader of the House or he is an ordinary member, definitely the law is clear on it. Because the authority of the House is completely being undermined. Anyway, honorable members, let's proceed. Do I put the question now? Yes, honorable member.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to contribute to motion 23 of our order paper, page 13. The motion seeks to approve the sum of 1,021,060,398 Ghana cedis for the Ministry of Trade and Industry for the year ending 31st December 2023. Mr. Speaker, in doing so, I want to make reference to the committee report for 2024. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, page 6 of the committee report, table number 1, says that an amount of 587,214,053 Ghana cedis was budgeted for in 2023 for this ministry. Mr. Speaker, along the line, there was a revision of this allocation to 858,451,396 Ghana cedis, which meant a revision of 46%. And Mr. Speaker, it is intriguing to note that after this revision, the total amount given to the ministry, which was spent, is 192,168,595.33 Ghana cedis, representing 22.38%. Mr. Speaker, this is a worrying situation for the ministry, because under what circumstance will you even revise the allocation from 587 million to 858 million and ended up giving 100 192 million. Mr. Speaker, this situation has prevailed over the years as far as this ministry is concerned. Mr. Speaker, if you permit me to go to our budget performance report for January 2020. Mr. Speaker, page 64, table 4. An amount of 478,333,938 was allocated and approved for this ministry. And the ministry was an amount of 386 was released to the ministry, representing 86%. I just want to draw a chronology for the House to see what has been going on. So 2020, 86%, 81.6% was given to the ministry. Mr. Speaker, 2022, if you look at the same figure from the budget performance report, 66% of the allocation was given to the ministry. And in 2022, 33%. So from 2020, 2021, 2022, the amount given to this ministry has consistently been reduced. Mr. Speaker, whatever reason is there, it is a big story that you will not want to hear. Because at the committee meeting, we tried to find out what exactly happened. And they gave a lot of stories, very convoluted stories. We cannot understand what rationale is behind this. Mr. Speaker, in 2023, just this year, as at September, only 22.38% was released to this ministry. This is a very worrying situation for us, and I think that whatever we need to do as a House, we need to compel the finance minister to know that there's duty, there's a responsibility for this ministry, and releases must come true. Otherwise, why should you revise a budget from 500 million to 800 and you ended up giving 192? Mr. Speaker, if you look at CAPEX for this same table, CAPEX was 284 million. That was what was approved. And the revised budget, it went up to 564,711,048 Ghana cedis. Mr. Speaker, it will interest you to note that the ministry was given only 38,936,920.77, representing 7%. 7%, Mr. Speaker. So I think that it is important for us to look at this and see exactly what we have to do to compel the minister to come clean with some of these approvals that we do. Otherwise, the work that we do invariably, it will come into futility. So, Mr. Speaker, I just want to draw your attention to that. Because of lack of time, I will go to 1D1F on the committee report for page 7. Mr. Speaker, under 1D1F, it is stated that 169,870 jobs were given. Mr. Speaker, at the committee meeting, we told them that, look, some of these companies that are benefiting from the stimulus packages were already in existence. So if they were already in existence, they were already in employment. They had employed people. So we were looking at the net effect. If in the long run you were giving stimulus package, let's see the contribution, the impact of that stimulus package that will give jobs. And that is how we calculate, we expected them to do. So, Mr. Speaker, we said next time they should let us see the net additions so that we can see categorically what these stimulus packages have done in terms of jobs. It is misleading to say 69,000 direct and indirect jobs. We also told them that we are interested in knowing which component of it is direct jobs and which component of it is indirect jobs. And that is what we expected the ministry to do for clarity to prevail. Mr. Speaker, on tax exemptions, we have already discussed that. In the committee report,
page 10 of the committee report of 2023, paragraph 5.1, it stated that at the ministry, 72 tax exemption requests are being processed at the ministry. Meanwhile, in Parliament, where about 42 tax exemption reports were presented, and an amount of 591,174,540.36 was supposed to be given total in tax exemption. Mr. Speaker, we're saying that, yes, it is good to give tax exemption, but what value do we get out of it? We are interested in doing value for money. Let's try to see what are these stimulus packages doing for us. How will the ordinary Ghanaian benefit from it? Mr. Speaker, that is important. If the chairman says that in 2019 some tax exemptions were given, they were given because there was value for money. You cannot compare what happened in 2019 to 2023 because we didn't have debt restructuring. So let's be interested in what these tax exemptions are meant to do for the people of this country and also for industry. That is how we look at it. So it is not the matter of approving tax exemption, but it is important to get value for money. The ordinary Ghanaian needs value for money, and that is what we are looking for, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, because of lack of time, I will just go to 2024. In 2024, the ministry is looking for 19% upward review from the revised budgetary allocations. And Mr. Speaker, it will interest you to know that CAPEX, they are looking for negative 29%. So this ministry doesn't appear to be committed in building CAPEX, capital expenditure, which is very important for the movement and the smooth growth of the ministry. Unfortunately, they are looking for 399,959,527, representing negative 29%. And that is what is in the report. Mr. Speaker, having said this, I will want to conclude by saying that this House should approve an amount of 1,021,060,398 Ghana cedis for the Ministry of Trade and Industry. Mr. Speaker, thank you for this opportunity.
Honorable members, those in favor of the adoption of motion number 23 on the order paper, say aye. Those against, say no. Honorable members, the ayes have it. The motion is accordingly adopted. The House has approved the sum of 1,021,060,398 Ghana cedis for the services of the Ministry of Trade and Industry for the year ending 31st December 2024. Yes, can we take the last report? I'm looking at the time.
Yeah, Speaker, we further want to plead with all the report. The difficulty had been the report, Speaker. Thankfully, and with the cooperation of my colleagues, we have. It now is cooperating.
Honorable member, we agree that members have to travel to their constituency to vote tomorrow.
Yes, Speaker, we will. The reports are ready. We want to do just at least just 5.
I say one. Let's move one.
Okay, Speaker, shall we go on to page 11? Page 11.
Page 11.
Yes, and start off with item 11.
Honorable members, page 11, item 11, motion. Chairman of the committee.
Right, Honorable Speaker, I beg to move, and notwithstanding the provisions of Standing Order 81, which require that no motion shall be debated until at least 48 hours have elapsed between the date on which the notice of the motion is given and the date on which the motion is moved. The motion for the adoption of the report of the Committee on Mines and Energy on the Memorandum on Terms and Conditions of Refinancing of the Netasco Phase 6A facility pursuant to the recommendation of the Committee on Mines and Energy may be moved today. I move accordingly.
Honorable members, motion number 11 has been moved. It's a procedural motion. Yes.
Mr. Speaker, this report was laid under kangaroo lane, and the motion is also being taken in the form of kangaroo. If there are other motions, Mr. Speaker, I think the Chief Whip is now calling the ranking member to come and brief him. We can take another motion and come back to it.
Speaker, let me correct one thing. No, what Ahmed said is factually not correct. It wasn't laid kangaroo lane. This was properly laid. We can refer to the records. Ahmed, you know, I would have agreed with you if you were spot on. It was not done kangaroo. It was done properly. Let's check the record.
I don't understand. I don't understand that term, kangaroo lane. I don't know what that means.
Is seeking to is that it was properly laid, and the records will bear me out. It was properly laid.
Yes.
The Speaker, on Saturday, if the majority leader is disagreeing with me, all the motions were laid by him. Almost all the motions, all the reports were laid by him.
Oh.
The Speaker,
is that what you define as kangaroo?
The Speaker, that's what I'm referring to as kangaroo. If you lay the motion without the consent of the ranking member and the committee members, and I agree with you, at least when you are the report, when you are coming to take the motion, the ranking member must be here, so that it will not be like we've laid the motion in his absence, we've taken the report in his absence. Mr. Speaker, I don't think we may be doing this kind of a good service. He's not a ranking member. He's not a member of the committee.
Mr. Speaker,
yes, Chair.
I was physically present when I laid the report. I did it myself. Yes. No, it was not right.
Yes. Minority Chief Whip. Yes. I'm watching the timepiece.
Mr. Speaker, at conclave, we always say leadership guide help you to steer the affairs on the floor. At conclave, we agree we'll work to 2:30. It's past 2:30, but you've been kind enough to say you take one extra motion. The majority this side decided not to take a motion related to the budget, but rather go and do something else. Mr. Speaker, if that is what they want to do, and I saw the majority leader saying that we are government, we can do whatever we like. Mr. Speaker, you gave them the opportunity. We gave them the opportunity to take one more motion. They have decided to take this one. And we are saying that this is controversial. We don't understand the details of it. So either, if you want to take it, we take it. We can call for head count and everything to take the decision. We can do that. Otherwise, they should take a motion which is got to do the budget. One more motion, then we close. But if they want to do it, get your people. When we take the voice vote, we'll take a head count as well on the Letasco.
Are we going to spend time on this matter? Yes, majority leader.
Mr. Speaker, we're not going to spend time. I don't know what has come on my two colleagues opposite. They just rise up and they are making attributions to people who have not been made. That I have said that the majority side can do everything. Why did I say that? Don't do that to yourself. Mr. Speaker, this man Abuja, we should be careful of him.
Minister, Trade and Industry.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'm not so sure why this matter is generating the amount of heat. Because the last time, Mr. Speaker, I thought, Mr. Speaker, you settled this matter and then referred this matter to the committee. Now he's talking about votes and whatever. You simply told them the legality of what has happened or the illegality of it, so the committee should go and settle it and report to the House. That is what I think the Speaker is seeking to do. So I'm not sure about ranking member, the votes and all that he's talking about, Mr. Speaker. That wasn't your instruction.
Honorable members, the procedural motion has been moved. Yes, please. Yes, majority Chief Whip.
Speaker, rise to second the motion moved.
Motion moved and seconded for the consideration of the House. It's a procedural motion. You can't take it. Let me put the question and then you tell me you can't take it. Yes,
Speaker, I thought
minority. Yes.
I thought they were going to agree with us to take another motion and suspend this one. That's why where we are, we should not be entering into this turbulent era. What is so urgent about this report that we are moving procedural motions and then suspend the orders and take it? What is so urgent about it? The Speaker, I believe tomorrow will come, day after tomorrow will come. Ghana is not going anywhere. We can suspend this. Appropriation is the most key, and the task force is not finding space in the appropriations. Let's concentrate on the appropriation. Items under the budget, another appropriation. That's the most urgent thing now.
Majority Leader, what do you say to that?
Well, Mr. Speaker, I'm just guided by the mood of the House. And I guess the agreement then will be, if this is dropped, we'll do at least 2 motions on the budget. And then, that's the bargain. Mr. Speaker, that's the bargain. So I guess we can stand this one down and do at least 2 motions.
Honourable members, we will accordingly stand down motion number 11 at page 11 of the order paper and move on to estimates.
Speaker, may we move to page 12?
Yes.
Page 12 of today's order paper and take item 18.
Honourable members, item 18 at page 12 of the order paper, motion. Minister for Railways Development.
Speaker, Speaker, bear with me. No, it's rather page 14, item 28. Sorry. Item 28, local government, on page 14.
Honourable members, page 14, item 28, motion. Minister for Local Government, Decentralization and Rural Development.
Speaker, may I seek your leave for the Minister of State to move the motion?
Honourable members, unless there is some substantive objection to the Minister of State and the Minister of Local Government.
Mr. Speaker, there is no objection at all.
Yes, so
at the committee level, it is the same Minister of State and the Minister of Local Government and Rural Development, Honorable Obiam, who steered the affairs of the committee and the team, everything went successfully. So he can proceed.
Yes, Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. I beg to move the motion that this Honourable House approves the sum of 2,661,741,905 for the services of the Ministry of Local Government, Decentralization and Rural Development for the year ending 31st December 2024. Mr. Speaker, I so move.
Honourable members, any seconder?
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. I rise to second the motion. Mr. Speaker, before I present the committee's report, I want to make some amendments to the committee. The motion, the total amount that is on the order paper. Mr. Speaker, at the committee's meeting, you were told that the amount, which is 2.6 billion, a little about 2.6 billion, has been changed by the Minister of Finance. There has been some increment, and now the total amount allocated to the ministry is 2,812,541,509 Ghana cedis. So that is the amount that the Minister of Finance has allocated to the ministry. Mr. Speaker,
yes, you may go on.
I can proceed to present the committee's report. And I will take your indulgence to ask the Hansa Department to capture the entirety of the committee's report, whilst I take some few observations made by the committee. Mr. Speaker, on page 16, the committee noted that the important role played by the Land Use and Spatial Planning Authority, including the preparation of inventory and validation of local plans, spatial development frameworks, and redevelopment of land use, planning and management systems. The goods and services and CapEx goals of the authority for the year 2024 is 5,643,365 Ghana cedis and 800 million respectively. Considering the role of the authority in resolving the numerous land use issues in the country, the committee is of the view that 2024 budgetary allocation to the authority is woefully inadequate, and that the Minister of Finance should make sure they get some money for the authority to operate for the 2024 fiscal year. Mr. Speaker, conclusion. The committee reiterates that an amount of 2,600,741,905 Ghana cedis is what is contained in the budget, as I've already said. And now, the committee would like to again state that during the budget hearing, it was informed that the Ministry of Finance has increased the budget allocation of the ministry to 2,812,541,905 Ghana cedis, and it is the amount of the committee. The committee recommends to the House for approval and consequent to the adoption of this report. Respectfully submitted, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable members, motion moved and seconded for the consideration of the House. Since everything went smoothly at the committee level, or you want to draw our attention to something? Yes, please.
Right, Honourable Speaker, all the same, we have to support our chairman on the floor.
Yes, go on.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to support the motion to approve 2.6 billion for the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development for 2.8.
Is it the correction?
Okay, now 2.8 for the 2024 financial year. Mr. Speaker, we reviewed what happened last year and noted with some disaffection that the wages bill, which was budgeted at 953.7 million, ballooned to 1.8 billion. That was almost doubling. So it marks off some poor budgeting to start with. But I think the ministry has the capacity to state or to estimate more closely to the reality when they are budgeting for their compensation. This should be examined by the Finance Department of the Ministry of Local Government. Mr. Speaker, a few other issues also cropped up. You will notice in the estimates that what we are getting from DP sources, donor partners, amounts to 607 million, whilst the government of Ghana is supporting activities of the Ministry of Local Government with only 114.5 million, which means that without the donor partners, the local government ministry is left on its own, because donor partners support amounts to 5.8 times what the government is providing for the ministry. I think it is a situation which we cannot continue as if it is not part of the government of Ghana. It is part. So we should make sufficient provisions for the ministry from our local budget, not only relying on donor partners, because we have even stated clearly that we want to be a country beyond aid. Beyond aid. But what is happening here is that without the aid from donor partners, the Ministry of Local Government cannot survive. Right, Honorable Speaker, there is this issue about births and deaths registry not having an office. In fact, we visited them some 1.5 months ago. We met them in the office of NALAC at Shashi. They are hiding in one corner at the National Association of Local Government Secretariat, which is a disgrace. Now they have asked for land. The government has to facilitate the acquisition of the land for the local government, for the birth and death registry, to put up their own office structure. So I think this must be given serious attention. But there is also a funding issue regarding the construction of the office for the births and deaths registry. We have agreed that they will be given 50%, up to 50% of their IGF towards this project. But at the moment, they have been capped further. They only have 33% to themselves. Mr. Speaker, this must be reversed so that if it is possible, just as we do for the Ghana Airport Company, we can give the full amount, the 100% of their IGF to the births and deaths registry, so that they can have enough funds to construct their office. Mr. Speaker, I think apart from these issues, we come to the Institute of Local Government Studies. Now, we are relying on the Disassembly's Common Fund to fund their activities. I don't think that is right. These institutes can generate a lot of funds, and we should make sure that the funds are released to them to be able to function properly. Then the Department of Parks and Gardens, we visited them at their office over here. Their land has been encroached upon. In fact, it was very interesting, right, Honorable Speaker? The workers told us that they have had to form walls to protect their land. They themselves have become land guards to protect the land that belongs to them. So I don't know where we are going. I don't know where we are going if we cannot protect state land. I remember you talked about how your own residence was being sold out. It's a similar thing that is happening to the Department of Parks and Gardens. Even the same thing. They are taking the wild land as well. So I think we should address this. The minister the Minister of State should take this seriously and work about it. You are sitting down, you are not helping the Department of Parks and Gardens. They are suffering. I think you should step up your game and make sure that you protect their land. They need money to even fence to provide fence wall around the outstanding properties that they have. So I think, Minister, we are supporting your request, but we want you to pay particular attention to all of these areas, because they form integral parts of the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development. On this note, Right Honourable Speaker, I support the request made by the Minister to release 2.8 billion to the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development.
Honourable members, those in favour of the adoption of the motion say aye. Those against say no. Honourable members, the ayes have it. The motion is adopted. The House has accordingly approved the sum of 2,812,541,905 Ghana cedis for the services of the Ministry of Local Government, Decentralization and Rural Development for the year ended 31st December 2024. Honourable members, it's time now to adjourn. We are at 3 p.m.
Speaker, we have engaged, leadership has engaged duly, and we've come to some agreement, Speaker, with respect. And they've mandated me to communicate that to you. Speaker, we have agreed to do
leaders, you just don't keep on engaging, and you don't engage, Speaker, and then you keep on. I mean, that is very unfair.
Speaker, it is indeed unfair, but Speaker, we could not.
I have my
respect.
My colleagues are with me, so I'll hand over to them.
Apologies, Speaker.
So that maybe you engage them better. Honourable members, the first deputy speaker to take the chair. I'm tired.
Item 25.
Item
25 on page 14.
Our conclusions and recommendations were: the committee has thoroughly examined the budget estimates of the Office of the Attorney General and Minister for Justice and for the 2024 fiscal year, and is of the view that the policies and programs outlined for the year will go a long way to contribute to the achievement, goals and objectives of the Office of the Attorney General and Ministry of Justice. The Speaker, the committee accordingly recommends to the House to adopt its report and approve the sum of 481,379,368 Ghana cedis. Mr. Speaker, I so move. Thank you.
Yes, ranking member. Yes.
Speaker, thank you for the opportunity to support the motion calling on the House to approve the sum of 481,279,368 Ghana cedis for the work of the Ministry of Justice and Office of the Attorney General for 2024. Mr. Speaker, in doing so, let me draw attention to a couple of matters arising from the report as tabled. Mr. Speaker, let me refer the House to Table 1 contained at page 7 of the report. And I think that the reporting format has to change. Mr. Speaker, if you look at the revised budget, we are told that under a certain revised budget, an amount of 195,424,305 Ghana cedis was approved as a result of the revision. But Mr. Speaker, I do not recall that this House approved the budget that we approved for the Ministry of the Office of the Attorney General and Ministry of Justice about a year ago. During the mid-year review, there was no such upward revision of the ceiling. And so I think that he has to explain that. Mr. Speaker, if you look at the variance that they stated, we should be interested in the amount released and the actual expenditure, for instance, as to the compensation of employees. Mr. Speaker, we know that compensation for employees is subject to verification. And so if you are submitting a table to indicate that out of 178 million Ghanaian cedis released, Mr. Speaker, you have spent 122 million, then I have a problem with that. What accounts for the excess? So there has to be an explanation to that. Mr. Speaker, if you consider the table as presented, there appears to be a positive variance between how much has been released to the Office of the Attorney General and how much they have actually spent, which paints a different picture from what we know that there are problems with releases in terms of the expenditure lines for the Office of the Attorney General. So if the Minister will touch on that in his concluding remarks, we'll be very glad. Mr. Speaker, again, if you look at the activities earmarked for 2024, under legal education, we are told that about 1,050 lawyers will be called to the bar. Then about 11,076 lawyers will be licensed. That is by the General Legal Council. Then 2,000 law firms will also be licensed. Then they intend to admit and train 1,500 professional law students. Mr. Speaker, this is better than to say that you intend to call 1,500 to the bar. It means that you are placing a ceiling to the number that will be called to the bar even before they go through the training and get called to the bar. So we expect that if you admit 1,500 and they all successfully go through the training, then of course, subject to the conditionalities for being called to the bar, they will go through the processing and the ceremony and be called to the bar. So it's a much better departure from last year when they said that they determine how many people will be called to the bar, even though the persons haven't gone through the exams yet. Mr. Speaker, one other matter that the committee felt strongly about is that the reporting on the issues of the internally generated funds. We think that there should be a more proper reporting as to the exact expenditure lines for which these internally generated funds are expended on. They are often very silent on these matters. Mr. Speaker, let me again touch on the issue of judgment debt. The ministry supposed that in handling some cases that went before some tribunals and some arbitral bodies, they made some savings. And I think that it is a misstatement of the issues. Mr. Speaker, if a petitioner petitions an arbitral body and alleges a certain sum as the amount claimed for damages, and upon determination, the arbitral body awards a lesser sum, it doesn't suggest that there was savings made. You still lost the case. So you can't say that because you lost the case by being awarded a lower sum in terms of damages, you made savings at all. So that way of reporting these matters, I believe we have to depart from it. Mr. Speaker, finally, there was an issue of unearned salaries by some staff of the Office of the Attorney General and Ministry of Justice. This is an institution This is an institution, Mr. Speaker, that is mandated under the Constitution to prosecute offenders who commit offenses such as this. And so if we have attorneys, principal state attorneys, senior state attorneys, and state attorneys, Mr. Speaker, who for some reason will receive money that will turn out to be unearned as to wages, then that is problematic. And some explanations were given, but it does not detract from the fact that an offense has been committed, and the Attorney General is in court in respect of so many other citizens for committing similar offenses. And they have been given opportunity to refund the monies merely without any there's no evidence of they having been even cautioned, sort of. So we think that this matters, being the office of the Attorney General, where matters such as this are prosecuted, this sort of offenses or occurrences shouldn't be happening under his watch. Mr. Speaker, allegations of this nature must be investigated and punished appropriately, as he does all the time. Mr. Speaker, finally, the issue of another 140 million judgment debt also came up. Such a very, very important matter that the committee took serious view of. And so, Mr. Speaker, we think that, Mr. Speaker, we think that the Attorney General, in calling upon the House for the sum, as already mentioned, to be approved, should put his house in order, and especially matters of judgment debt, they should not be advising that contracts be terminated unlawfully. Not mere termination, but unlawful terminations, which makes aggrieved parties seek redress in the bodies that they are supposed to under the terms of the agreement. Mr. Speaker, with these words, I thank you for the opportunity and call on the House to approve the sum of 481 million Ghana cedis. Thank you very much.
At the conclusion of that, Attorney General, you want to respond? Yeah.
Speaker, having regards to the constraints of time, I'll just briefly remark. The Speaker, indeed, my brief remarks about the inconsistencies in the figures that my learned friend alluded to. The Speaker clearly has been explained to the committee. The Speaker, that is why the committee actually indicated that the budget of the Office of Attorney General for the year 2023 was revised to the sum that has been stated on page 7 of the report. The Speaker, if indeed the same has been explained away, has been adopted and indeed accepted by the committee, and has been stated in the committee's report, the Speaker, I believe that with all respect, it is inappropriate for me to respond to it. So I'll leave it at that. The Speaker, again, on the issue about the allegation of a ceiling on the number of lawyers that may be called to the bar in 2024. The Speaker, I would like to say that indeed there is no such ceiling at all. It is only an estimate of the number of lawyers that are expected to be called to the bar. The Speaker, I remember the same question as of me last year when I came to defend the budget estimate to the Minister of Justice. I had stated in my report that indeed we expected about 400 lawyers to be called to the bar. The same question was asked of me. My response was that it depended on the resource, and that if the students indeed pass the examination, they will be duly called to the bar. The reality is that in October 2023, in spite of my statement in the budget estimate that 400 students may be called to the bar, about 1,000 students were actually called to the bar. So over 1,000 newly enrolled lawyers were called to the bar in October 2023. So, Mr. Speaker, really, this estimate, with all respect, is not so much material. The record must reflect the fact that the past 2 years has seen about a doubling of the number of lawyers on the roll of lawyers as a result of the massive enrollment of new lawyers. Last year, about 1,200 lawyers were called to the bar. This year, over 1,000, almost 1,100 lawyers have been called to the bar. And I think the government must be applauded for these efforts. The Speaker, there has also been, with all respect, a misrepresentation of our statement about judgment debt and all that. My learned friend cleverly, with all respect, omitted the mention of the clear saving of $55 million arising out of this Beijing everywhere matter. Apart from that, there was also the saving of $275 million that was also recorded in respect of the Cassius Mining Limited matter. The Speaker, if indeed a claim is made by a claimant at an arbitral tribunal for over $2 million, and if the final analysis about $900,000 was awarded by the tribunal, the Speaker, I believe that indeed that's a very significant saving, and that must be reported to the House. But of course, my learned friend also omitted the many hundreds of millions of United States dollars that have been saved by the Office of Attorney General, and I believe that the record must reflect that fact. The Speaker, he also made reference to the judgment debt of $140 million. The record again must reflect that that was a judgment debt that accrued in 2021, even before I became Attorney General. It accrued in January 2021. The Speaker, it was as a result of certain provisions in the power purchase agreement that clearly were onerous, and that power purchase agreement was executed in the time of the NDC in 2015. The Speaker, I think that, yes, the Speaker, that was, yes, the power purchase agreement concluded in 2015. The Speaker, I must, with all respect, make a strong case for the approval by this House of the budget estimates of the Office of Attorney General. Indeed, the office is one that operates in severe constraints of resources. We have not even included estimates for the training of staff, estimates for the training of attorneys and all. And indeed, this is something that the office requires in order to boost the efficiency of the performance of the Office of Attorney General. I believe, with all respect, that having regard to the severe constraints and dire straits within which the Office of Attorney General operates, indeed, these estimates are very, very small. And Mr. Speaker, I would urge this honourable House to indeed exercise its courage to actually advocate for an increase on the budget estimates. I pray accordingly.
At the conclusion of the debate, the question is all in favor of the motion. Say aye. All against say no. The ayes have it. The motion is carried. The House has approved the sum of 481,279,367 Ghana cedis for the services of the Attorney General and Ministry of Justice for the year ending 31st December 2024. Yes.
Speaker, may we go back to page 11 and start off with item 11 on page 11.
Madam Speaker, should we go over?
I think the motion was moved.
Yes, and
seconded.
procedural.
So
yeah,
I'll put the question. Yeah, this is a procedural motion. Am I right?
Yes.
This is a procedural motion. So. No, I'll put a question on the procedural motion before we go. So, all in favor of the House adopting the procedural motion, say aye. All against say no. The ayes have it. Motion is carried. Now, I'll move to item 12. A motion by Chairman of the Committee.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. I beg to move that this Honourable House adopts a report of the Committee on Mines and Energy on the memorandum of the terms and conditions of refinancing of the TASCO Phase 6A facility pursuant to the recommendation of the Committee on Mines and Energy. Honourable Speaker, with your leave, I want to present your committee's report. Honourable Speaker, this referral was done on the 7th of December 2023 by Right Honourable Speaker Mr. Alban Sumana Kingsford Budget. After deliberations, this is the conclusion of your committee. In the premises, the committee, having adverted itself to the law and the relevant judicial authorities, concedes that the TASCO Phase 6A facility contained in the 23 work program of GMPC does not require parliamentary approval. In this regard, the committee endorses a request by the Honourable Minister for Energy that the terms and conditions of the TASCO Phase 6A facility be distributed to honourable members for their information. The committee therefore recommends the House to adopt this report. Respectfully submitted, Right Honourable Speaker.
Yes, wrong.
Honourable Speaker, I rise to support the motion. And in supporting the motion, Honorable Speaker, I want to make a few things clearer than they are in the report. Mr. Speaker, Klomega versus Attorney General has been cited as a reason why this agreement does not need parliamentary approval. Mr. Speaker, I want to totally disagree. Klomega versus Attorney General preceded the passage of Act 919, and Parliament was deliberate in inserting clause 1015. Parliament was very deliberate. So the argument that Klomega versus Attorney General makes parliamentary approval unnecessary does not stand. If anybody is displeased with Act 919, the provision Act 919, that person should go to court and expunge that section of the Act. I want to put this on record. Mr. Speaker, I also want to state that GMPC is not a normal commercial organization. GMPC is the National Oil Company. That makes it a different animal from other commercial organizations, and I want to put that on record. Mr. Speaker, I also support the motion because the second referral is a total different animal from the earlier referral that the committee sat on. In the earlier case, a loan amount of 620 million was presented to the committee, and that loan amount included portions for GMPC's operations, and therefore, standing on PNDC Law 64 and Act 919, the committee rightly recommended that the terms and conditions of that facility be brought to Parliament. However, we were presented with a second scenario, which is a totally different change animal, in that 272 million for refinancing of an existing loan was now presented to us. Because it is a financial rollover and therefore not a new loan, it does not now require parliamentary approval. What is of interest to the committee is the transactional cost of the rollover, and that is taken under OPEX, operating expenses of GMPC. So, Mr. Speaker, with this new referral, we believe that it does not need parliamentary approval. So I support the motion. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
At the conclusion of the debate, the question is all in favor of the House adopting the motion. Say aye. Aye. All against say no. The ayes have it. The motion is carried. Yes, Honorable Majority Leader.
Speaker, as was agreed, we've duly executed all businesses planned. So, having regard to the time, so we are actually in your hands. However, we had earlier agreed that we will sit tomorrow at 2. So, Speaker.
Yes. Other members, I can bring proceedings to a close now, can I? Very well. In that case, the House is accordingly adjourned to tomorrow, Tuesday, the 19th of December 2023 at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, 2 p.m. tomorrow.